Hello YouTube, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing a video response and Retro Bear, because I've just watched a video of his about his gaming system journey and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. Like listening to the stories of the consoles he's bought and stuff like that and the journey he took through the systems. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to make a response to that. He hadn't asked for responses, but I'm going to make one anyway. Only recently found him actually. I think it was 2TUK mentioned him in one of his videos. I went over and checked him out and yeah, really nice guy, quality channel and really enjoying his content. So yeah, where did it all begin for me? I'm going to do this quite a bit different to how Retro Bear did it too, because he has a lot of consoles and he picked a lot of them up later on and mentioned them, you know, later on. If I were to talk about every console I've ever owned, yeah, we'd be here a while. There's not many that I haven't owned. I've owned pretty much everything from second generation up to current day, including all the really random shit like CDIs, laser actives, Casio Lupe, FM Towns Marty, Sega Pico. You name it, I've pretty much had it. I think out of everything, if you look at a list, especially third generation onwards, I mean there's a lot of really obscure second generation consoles that only came out in America that I have no interest in. I don't really care for second generation stuff. But if you look at a list of third generation onwards, I imagine there's not much I haven't owned. PC Engine CD and a Neo Geo CD are about the only two that I can think of. But other than that, I'm pretty sure I've owned majority of stuff. Multiple times as well, not just the odd one. So yeah, we'll talk about my history now. And like I say, I'm only going to mention the ones I actually bought purposely. Not stuff I've picked up, like from car boots, stuff like that. So, back in the day, when I was really little, before I owned my first gaming system, I do remember we had a few in the house because, you know, I'm the youngest, so people before me had gaming systems to play with. I remember for definite we had a Pong machine and an Atari Pong at that, and we also had a Pong clone machine with tennis and all that sort of shit on it, and I do remember playing them, but I was really young. I don't remember whether I enjoyed it or all like that. And I kind of just don't even count them as consoles, to be honest with you. I know that you could play games on them, but I don't know. I just, the shit to me. Absolute shite. It's before my time, and it does nothing for me. Nothing at all. But I do remember we had one. I also remember we had a Woody, an Atari 2600. And again, didn't do really anything for me. I don't even remember playing that at all. I do have memories of it, but that's further down the line. I don't ever remember playing it, but I remember it being under the TV. It was there, basically. And other thing we had was a VIC-20. And again, no memories at all of playing this, but I have a vivid memory of seeing Horace Goes Skiing, like the tape box art. And it was just always on the TV unit for some reason. It must have been one of my brother's favourite games or something. Don't know. Again, before my time, and anything of that era, it just doesn't do it for me, in all honesty. As I said, I've owned multiple Atari 2600s, in televisions, Philips Video Pack G7000 is it? Can't remember what it full number on it. But the amount of stuff like that I picked up from car boots over the years, I've always given them a shot, and it's just never done it for me. It's just before my time. So the first gaming system I actually owned for myself, got it for Christmas one year. I'll tell you the full story another time because it's a bit long-winded of why I got it. But I got a Commodore 64 and absolutely loved it. At first, I mean, I wasn't even into gaming, so when I opened it, I wasn't that impressed, to be honest. I'd rather have had Lego. But when I actually played it and sat down and got going with it, I absolutely loved it. Treasure Island Dizzy especially. That were one of the games I got with it. Cracking game. Played that forever. Really, really enjoyed it. First game I ever beat was that, Treasure Island Dizzy. Really hard. But yeah, loads and loads of games on that just jump out of being amazing. Absolutely loved them. And it's what really got me into playing games. Funny story, my mate had, at the time I think he had a ZX80 or 81, you know, just the little square one without a tape deck, Spectrum. And for Christmas that year, his parents were getting him the newer one with a tape deck. I don't know which model it was off the top of my head. He had 3 or 4 over the years. And my mum were meant to be getting the same one as him, so we could swap games. But she fucked up and got a Commodore 64. She had a habit of messing shit up, did my mum. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. I love the C64. I wouldn't change it for a Spectrum. If she'd have got me a Spectrum and then I'd play the C64, I think I'd have been a bit gutted, in all honesty. So much better, from my opinions. And it's not just because I had one either. My mate, his parents were a bit more well off, and he had tons and tons of games for his Spectrum. You know, hundreds to choose from. And I can't say a single one of them I enjoyed more on the Spectrum than on the Commodore 64. And I probably used to spend more time gaming at his house on his computers and consoles, because his parents looked after me after school and stuff. But yeah, much preferred the C64 in every bloody department. I just thought it was brilliant. Really was. As well, it was the first time I had experienced like cartridge loading games with T2. Could not believe that. It's still a really standout memory for me. Is plugging in the Terminator 2 cartridge and it instantly loading. Because before that, I'd only played tape games realistically. I know we had a 2600, but I'd never used it, as I said. So to plug in a cartridge and see it just be instantly loaded, that was amazing. And then to see that intro come through on Terminator 2 on C64 blew me away. And it might have something to do with why I love like Terminator and Alien and all that sort of stuff as well. Because I like the films, but that game absolutely, really got me, did that. I loved it. So yeah, some great memories of the C64. Never owned the Spectrum back in the day, but played on it a hell of a lot at my mate's house, like I say. Amstrad? Yeah. One of my mates had it, and we used to just take the piss out of him basically, because it were an Amstrad and he was the only one who had it, and he was just gutted that that's what his parents had got him. He had one of them ones, I don't know the models when it comes to Amstrads and computers, but he had one of them with a monitor, and it was like a green screen monitor. So comparing that to like the C64, I was just like, wow. It just looked shocking, it really did. Sorry if you're a fan of Amstrad, but they're shite, they really are. Yeah, as I say, I've owned all of them since, but yeah, Commodore 64 is the only one that really I think was any good. Spectrum were alright, but if you compared it to the C64, it was crap, in my opinion. So yeah, from there, my next big jump up was the Mega Drive, but somewhere along the line, and I can't for the life of me remember when I got this, but I'm pretty sure it was after the C64, because I had an original C64 at first. I did get a C64C later on, because my original C64 broke, but somewhere along the line between there and Mega Drive, I got an Atari 7800 for Christmas one year, and I can remember opening it and being so underwhelmed. I was just like, oh, yeah, God. It was shit. And to this day, I'll still say that. It was the only 8-bit console I owned. I think it came out just after Master System from memory. Never really played on NES or Master System back in the day. Everyone I knew had computers. It were all 8-bit computers around by me. I found out later on that a couple of my mates did actually have Master Systems, and one of them had a NES, but that was well down the line. When we were already playing Mega Drive, I found out they had these. So yeah, I never owned Master System or NES. Do love both systems, to be honest with you, but I had an Atari 7800, and it was shit. It was absolute dog turd, it really was. I've got a couple of good memories of it. I like light phaser games, and I think a lot of that actually stems from the 7800, because that was the first time I used a light gun. So I'm not going to say it was total utter turd. It does have its plus points, but yeah, I wouldn't buy one back. Let's put it that way. I've owned a few over the years that I've picked up, but as I'm now rebuilding my collection, I ain't going to be adding an Atari 7800 anytime, ever. They're just shit. I did enjoy Alien Brigade at the time, but looking back at it, it's a crap game, it really is. So yeah, no love lost between me and the Atari. So that for 8-bit systems back in the day, never owned them. Which do I think is the best 8-bit system now? PC Engine, by a country mile. That is a beast of a system, is that, isn't it? You've got like shooters, but yeah, really, really quality. I probably will pick a PC Engine back up. I'm not going to buy a Master System. I've got a Master System converter from a Mega Drive. That's fine for me. Don't need this system itself. Unless someday I want a little light gun setup, I might get a console for that. But we'll see. That's way, way down the line. Just for playing your run-of-the-mill games, I'm happy playing them on my Mega Drive. I've bought an NES. I think that's it for 8-bit. I will buy a PC Engine at some point, but there's no rush for it. They're pricey machines, aren't they? And the games I want are pricey as well, so it's just another money pit. And I've got enough money pits at the minute. I don't need another one. Yeah, so anyway, that's it up to the 8-bit regions, Atari 7800, and then came the day when I really got into gaming big time. So up to that point, I'd probably been like a casual gamer. I was more happy going out playing football and all of the shit we used to get up to, skateboarding, BMXing. I played games when I was on my own, basically, or when I were being babysat around my mate's house. And then came the fateful day when I got a Mega Drive. Yeah, that was me. Absolutely blown away, hooked. This console, it is where it all stems from, realistically. If I'd never got a Mega Drive, I can imagine I wouldn't really have been into gaming at all. So if I'd gone down the computer route, like a lot of my friends, they went from C64, Spectrum, they went up to the Atari STs and the Amigas. And it never did it for me, that. Once I'd hit the Mega Drive, I couldn't care less about computers. My mates used to show me demos on the Amiga, like Jesus on Ease, stuff like that, and they'd show me games, and I'd be like, yeah, it looks cool, but it plays like shit. And they were still using joysticks, and to me, a joystick with a button, compared to like a Mega Drive pad, it was just so basic. I just couldn't get back into playing games like that. Once I got hold of that Mega Drive control pad, I never wanted to play on a computer ever again. I was perfectly happy just with my control pad. Going back to using the keys to control stuff, I can't do it. And it's still the same now. I've tried PC gaming, like over the last few years, in fact, and I just can't do it. I cannot get used to controlling with the keys. Give me a controller, I'm absolutely cock on. I can play any game to a high standard. Give me a bloody keyboard, no chance. I've got to look down and see where buttons are. And I don't know why, because I can type. I can type perfectly fine. But as soon as I've got to control using keys, I just can't fucking do it. And it doesn't feel right to me anymore. I just don't like using keyboards. So from Mega Drive on, that was me. Absolutely hooked. Loved it. Can't say a bad word about the Mega Drive. Would I rather have had a SNES? No, I wouldn't. Mortal Kombat, stuff like that, it just straight away, anyone in the Playground Wars back then, if you'd got Mortal Kombat, that just shut anyone with a SNES up, because it just made it into the kiddie console, didn't it, because it didn't have blood. Standout titles, yeah, there's some beauties on the SNES, but I'd pick the Mega Drive over SNES every day. Hands down. I just think it's the better console. I think it feels rainy, more atmospheric. I don't know, there's something about it, it just feels darker. It's hard to explain, but if I'm playing the SNES compared to the Mega Drive versions just feel more atmospheric to me, they really do. Whereas the SNES games are like, blam, straight in your face, really loud and vibrant, but they don't have that same feel of sitting down and fucking getting involved in a game to me. So yeah, I had the SNES back in the day too, by the way. My brother had one, but still, obviously it was there, so getting played a lot. And it was the first time I played Street Fighter. So I do have some really, really good memories of the SNES, but Mega Drive wins it out for me. We didn't have any of the other little spin-offs of that era, so I think that was it for that era. Yeah, there was no else I owned around that time. When the Mega CD came out, got a Mega CD, so upgraded my Mega Drive. Can't really say a good word for it. I know there's an odd game on it that's pretty good, but it did not for me in all honesty. At the time I was still like, oh, I can't really get into this CD gaming. I like my cartridges. And I also upgraded to the 32X, so I had the full Tower of Power back in the day. And yeah, less said about that one the better, I think. To be honest with you, I'll never buy another Mega CD, I'll never buy a 32X, I'll just stick with the basic console. All the good games are on the basic stuff. I think doing all those add-ons are what actually fucked Sega, in my opinion. Because you're buying these add-ons, spending all this money, and it wasn't cheap to buy a Mega CD and a 32X. So you're buying all this, and they weren't releasing any good quality games for it. They weren't releasing anything to keep you happy. I mean, the 32X came out the same day pretty much as the Saturn, I believe, didn't it? With a couple of days between them. So no wonder you're not going to get any decent games for it. They've already fucked it off. They're already developing for Saturn. They're not interested in Mega Drive anymore. So yeah, I think those two add-ons were actually the death of Sega. But me being me, I was still a Sega fanboy at heart. I did actually get rid of my original 32X. I kept my Mega CD because of the sound. I got rid of my original 32X when I upgraded to a Saturn. I did buy one back, but I don't know why. I did do though. I think probably just because I liked the look of the Tower of Power. But yeah, from Mega Drive, I went straight to Saturn. I had the Mark 1 Saturn. I wasn't blown away with it, to be honest. I've got good memories of playing it, Sega Rally especially. I absolutely loved that game, doing the time trials on it. But that's about it. The only other fond memories I have are like the fighting games, but I've got just as equal fond memories on PlayStation of the fighting games, because they both had games of a similar quality in my opinion. Yeah, Saturn was the nail in the coffin for me when it came to Sega. So I did have one, and I kept it right up to when I sold my collection. I kept it. But as soon as I'd seen the PlayStation, I was thinking I've made the wrong choice here. I really have. So although I had a Saturn and I was buying games for it, I didn't want it. I wanted a PlayStation. Couldn't afford one. And one of my friends who really wanted a PlayStation at the time bought one. He wasn't right bothered for it. And he was also into DJing big time. And I actually managed to trade some of my techno records, and don't get me wrong, there was some good quality stuff there, for his PlayStation. So that is how I came to get my first PlayStation. And that console there, that was just it for me. I won't bother about Sega anymore. I've been a Sony fanboy ever since, I really have. I've had every PlayStation console, all stemming from that PS1. And it was just mind-blowingly good for me with that. Every game I played on it just felt amazing. I played stuff like Tomb Raider on the Saturn, but playing it on PlayStation, it just all felt so much better. And that control pad for me, it is brilliant. It fits perfect for me, does that. Especially when the DualShocks came out. That is just gaming perfection in my memories. Just playing games with the DualShock pad. So many games I played back then as well. I mean, that's when the 3D platformers were just coming good, and I liked 3D platform games. I thought they were brilliant. Coming from being a big fan of platformers and action games, moving on to stuff like Crash Bandicoot, absolutely awesome. It blew me away, did Crash Bandicoot. Yeah, really good games. I think I had a PlayStation of some description. I broke a lot, but I had a PlayStation of some description right up to PS3 years, and it was always set up for playing downstairs. So I was always constantly playing PS1 games. Ridge Racer, absolutely love those games. What else should I play a lot of? Tekken, obviously, quality. And let's not forget, Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto was absolutely, looking at it now, it was absolutely shite. But at the time, that game blew me away. Top down, really crap graphics, but the stuff you could do on that game, it was just like, wow, this is amazing. So what must I have been, about 16, 17, maybe a bit older when that came out. I can't remember when it came out. I just remember sat with my mates going on these mental rampages playing Grand Theft Auto and thinking, does it get any better than this? Obviously it did, as the PS2 came out and we got the proper Grand Theft Auto games, it got a lot better. But yeah, memories of that, just like 4 or 5 of us chilling in each other's houses playing games. But for me, the real winner of that generation was probably the N64. I didn't get one on release. I can't remember when I got one, but it was a joint thing. Me and my brother chipped in together, and I really wanted to play Mario Kart, and I think he really wanted to play GoldenEye. I think that's the way around it was. I'd never even heard of GoldenEye, to be honest, and I was a fan of first-person shooters as well. Mega Drive had got me into first-person shooters, zero tolerance. So I did like first-person shooters, but I'd not heard much about GoldenEye. A lot of my mates were all talking about the racing games or Super Mario. So we went down to Game Station together, and we managed to get the N64 with Mario Kart, with Super Mario 64 and GoldenEye. And the minute I played GoldenEye, I didn't give a shit about any other games, in all honesty. Me and my brother spent absolutely forever just playing that game together. And yeah, what a quality game. I've got so many good memories of playing GoldenEye with my mates, with my brother. It's just such a good game. I actually, by mistake, sold my copy of GoldenEye when I was selling a load of spares. So I used to pick N64s up for fun back in the day from car boots. They were peanuts, they were everywhere. And I was selling an N64 with GoldenEye and a few other games as well. I sold it to this guy, and then I went to play my version of GoldenEye a week later, something around that, chucked it in, cart was blank, and then I realised it's not mine, because mine had like this massive sun fade along the top, because it never had a console, and I realised it wasn't my car, and I went, oh, for fuck's sake. So I looked on listing, and I'd listed it, sold it to this other guy, got in touch with him, mate, I'll send you some money and the version of the car, it's much better. Can I have my copy back? I want my save files back. And he went, oh, sorry mate, I've wiped them. I know! Because I'd opened up every single cheat on that cartridge, and if you're a fan of GoldenEye, you'll know how hard it is to do. Yeah, absolutely gutted I'd done that. But it happens, shit happens, doesn't it? But yeah, N64 for me, it was the runaway winner of that generation. And let's be honest, it was double the bits, wasn't it? So PlayStation, Saturn, they were 32-bit. N64, 64-bit. It should have won, shouldn't it? But looking at it now, I do think the PS1 is a better console. It's got better games on it. It's just by far a better console for me. I do love the N64, like I've said. So many great memories of it. And that is probably my main collecting focus at the minute, is an N64. I do enjoy playing it. But the PS1, it's always been something I've owned, something I've played. And at the minute I don't own a PS1, but I own the games. I can play them on PS2, I can play them on PS3, and because the control pad hasn't really changed, it doesn't feel any different. It's just the same to me. So I'm quite happy like playing my PS1 games on my PS3 with a remote control pad. That's spot on to me. It don't feel any different at all. I may get a PS1 back at some point. I am thinking about, and this will be another video probably, I am thinking about getting a gaming setup again, a proper one. So we've got a room upstairs. It's probably twice the size of this room in all honesty. And I'm thinking about setting it up as a bit of a gaming room. I don't know yet though. I haven't made my mind up. But if I do, I'm going to get a big old CRT in one corner and I'm going to set up a phaser section. Because I'm quite happy playing retro games on LCDs or whatever they are, LEDs, I don't know, these fucking new TVs, whatever they are. Don't bother me at all. You know, like people that are like proper addicted to scan lines and all this shit. I'm not interested, it doesn't bother me. But I do like light phaser games, so I would like a setup where I've just got the consoles and the phaser games and the CRT and all the guns like slotted down the side. I would like something like that. So watch this space. Not going to be anytime soon, but probably something like that coming in the future. Anyway, where were we? Yeah, PS1 for me, winner of that generation. I've not got a PS1 back at the moment. Probably will get one in the future, like I just said. N64 I have got. Saturn? Nah, I'm not buying a Saturn. I have absolutely zero interest in it. The games that were good on it were only good for two-player, in my opinion. So Virtua Fighter, stuff like that. Virtua Fighter Kids were probably one of the better games in from my memory. Yeah, the only games I can think of that I really enjoyed on Saturn were two-player games. And I don't really play two-player anymore. You know, none of my mates are interested at all in video games in real life. And any of them that are live a fucking long way away from me. So they're not going to be coming around to play games anytime soon. So, yeah, Saturn just don't do it for me at all. I think it were, like I said, 32X were nailing the coffin for Sega, and they just fucked up with Saturn, from my perspective. And then they rushed the Dreamcast out too early, and it was just death for the company. Yeah, so I won't be getting a Saturn back. I have owned loads, Japanese ones, all sorts of stuff, but yeah, no interest in that. So then we go on to the 1 to 8-bit generation. And I got a Dreamcast first out of those. Absolute dog turd. Could not get on with it at all. Hated the controller, absolutely. Coming from, well, to be honest with you, I'm mainly an N64 gamer then. I always played my PlayStation 1, but mainly an N64 gamer. And coming from the N64 pad, which is awkward in itself, to the Dreamcast pad, you'd think it'd be quite an easy adaptation, but no. Hate that thing. Absolutely horrible. Would not piss on one if it was on fire. Can't stand it. I will never ever buy another Dreamcast. I've tried to get into it so many times, and I just can't get into it. So back in the day, bought one new with Crazy Taxi and a few other games that I thought, yes, amazing, it's just going to be like playing the arcades. It just didn't do it for me at all. Hated every minute of that bloody console. Bought a PS2, never looked back. Honestly, never played the Dreamcast ever again. I had one set up in my gaming setup for ages. Other than to turn it on and see that it worked, I never played it. Ever. Just could not get on with it. I had tons and tons of games for it as well, what I'd picked up from car boots over years. I just looked at them and thought, yeah, not interested, don't want to play this, it's a piece of shit. So yeah, that's my opinion on the Dreamcast. I know a lot of people like it, but it just does nothing for me. I think Sony had just blown it out of the water by then. Nintendo was still in the background, wasn't there? But for me, Sony had blown it out of the water. And the PS2 is probably one of my all-time favourite consoles. The amount of games I've got now on that I love, but back in the day, it was just big, banging, smart game after smart game. Every release, every week, there was something new that was amazing and blowing me away. I sunk a fortune into new games in that era, because that's when I was just coming in or like earning money. So I was living with my now wife at the time. I had a PS2 set up, fucking loved it. She used to watch telly. I used to play PS2 quite often on a small TV when she was at home, so she could watch telly. Because I was just like half watching TV and half doing the, what do you call it, endurance races on Gran Turismo 3. So you could pretty much do them with your eye closed, couldn't you, when you'd played them enough. But yeah, PS2 for me, it was just banger after banger after banger. Some of my all-time favourite games on that system. Still got one. Don't play it as much as I should, but I am going to do it once I've got it all set up here. I do love the Devil May Cry games especially. Really, really fond memories of them. And one of the reasons I don't play the PS2 as much, to be honest with you, is because a lot of my favourite games have actually been re-released on PS3, PS4, and I do have the re-released versions. So I get kind of lazy then, because as I've mentioned, I don't think playing PS4 feels much different to playing PS1, PS2. The pad's the same. When the games are updated, they still feel the same. You still feel like you're playing a PlayStation 1 game, even though it's a PS4 version. So it doesn't really bother me playing the updates. I'm quite happy to do that, and I do love the PS4. So yeah, PS2 for me anyway, absolute fucking blew it out of the water. I'd say it was probably up there as my all-time favourite out of all the consoles, just for the sheer amount of quality games on it. I mean, one of the big memories I have is playing Time Crisis on it. Oh my god, that blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. Such a quality game. Yeah, really fond memories of all the PS2 games, but I think Time Crisis, that was one that just made me... I'm a big fan of light gun games, so that just really, it hit me big time of this console is amazing. Again, I've got one. It's probably the only console of that generation that I'm bothered about, in all honesty. So I had an Xbox back in the day. Never really got a look in. There were odd game here and there, Halo. But no, it never really got a look in, didn't me, Xbox. And I had a GameCube, which, don't get me wrong, had some cracking games on it. There were quite a few that I enjoyed on it. And for the longest time, if a game were coming out on PS2 and GameCube and it was one I really wanted, I'd be like, oh, I'll buy the GameCube version just to make sure I get some playtime on my GameCube. Because I didn't dislike it, I just preferred my PS2. But eventually I just thought, why am I doing this? I'll just buy a PS2 version, I prefer PS2. So yeah, my GameCube did get a lot of playtime. But yeah, PS2 blew that generation away for me. So, as I've mentioned, I've got a PS2 back. Would I get a Dreamcast back? Hell no. Xbox? Doubtful. I don't think there's any games there that I'll ever be interested enough in to buy another console. GameCube? Yeah, it's not a bad console at all. Few games on there. Double Dash, straight to mind, I loved that. Mario Sunshine, another cracking game. And I really loved Luigi's Mansion. Zelda games as well. Wind Waker were cracking. I never played the next one. What were the other one? I always wanted to and I never played it. Twilight Princess? I can't remember, but you know, there's enough games that are only on GameCube that I love to warrant me getting a GameCube, if that makes sense. So yeah, I will get a GameCube back. From there on, I pretty much owned everything. So PS3, Wii, Xbox 360, and it just kept going up and up and up. PlayStation were always my main. So PS3, PS4, and up to current gen, I've got a PS5, although I've still not plugged it in. I bought it in February. I still haven't plugged it in. So I've loved all of them. And I think half the reason I've loved them so much is because the multitude of uses you can get from them. So, Blu-ray player, straight away, streaming. At one point, I think we had 4 PS3s set up around the house because they were that cheap to buy and they were just perfect for streaming Netflix and everything else and watching Blu-rays. So, the kids had one in the rooms, I had one in my room, we had one set up in the main room, and they're just perfect media centres. So, yeah, PS3, brilliant. 360, I'm not against it. I just preferred the PS3. That's as far as it goes with that. To me, I think it's all about which pad you prefer. I know they've both got exclusive games, but yeah, there's no on the Xbox 360 that makes me think I've got to own one. And the quality difference between a 360 game and a PS3, I can't tell the difference. If there is one, I'm sure there is. I can't tell what it is. I'm perfectly happy just playing on a PS3. It's the pad I'm used to. I just prefer it. The Wii U, all that stuff, never did it for me at all. Had them in the house because I've got kids. And played a lot on them because I've got kids and they wanted me to play the games with them. Yeah, did nothing for me, didn't the Wii or the Wii U. I thought they were both pants, in all honesty. Mario Kart, maybe, that's about the only one that I'd probably go back and play. Everything else I wasn't interested in. Did not like the swinging my arms about to play games. I'm not interested. If I wanted to swing my arms about and play games, I'd go out and go fishing or somewhere like that, play snooker, game of darts. If I want to play a video game, I just want to sit there with a control pad and play a bloody video game. So yeah, we never did it for me. The only good thing with the Wii, in my opinion, was soft modding it and running emulators on it. It's a great little emulation machine. But yeah, I'll never own another. I won't buy a Wii or a Wii U. 360, again, probably won't buy. PS3, I've still got one. It's there, plugged in, ready to go. It's been set up since I had one. I don't think I've ever not had a PS3 set up. That's not my original one. I had a 60 gig original one. The disk drive went on that. We're looking at fixing it, and then at CEX at the time, they were cheap enough. I think they were only 60 quid, something like that. You know, just console only. So I bought one. I think that's probably my 4th one, to be honest with you. And not because they're not reliable, these new ones. I've never had a problem with a new one. But my kids drop them, break them, damage them. They're not very caring with stuff like that. Yeah. So I don't mind them. I've always had one set up. Even like now, my PS4 has always been set up since I got it. My PS3 has always been alongside it. It's not the front and centre, it's down the side, but it's there still. Yeah, I don't think I'd do without a PS3. Brilliant. Again, I play my PS1 games on it. So, yeah. I would probably like to get the original PS3, was it the 80 gig one that had the PS2 compatibility? That'd be nice to be able to play PS1, 2 and 3 games on a console. So yeah, I might look for one of them in the future, but I don't know, reliability wise, I know they're a lot better, the slim models, so we'll see. But I'm not going to get a 360 and I'm not going to get a Wii again, no chance on that. So then we go to next generation, PS4, just hands down did it for me. But Wii U part of this generation, PS4 generation, or was it Switch? See, Switch is current gen, isn't it? So is that the PS5 generation? I don't know. Either way, Nintendo consoles from the N64 didn't really do it for me. So Wii, GameCube were alright. Wii U, Switch, They don't do it for me. Always had one. We've got a Switch upstairs. It's my daughter's, my youngest daughter's. She absolutely loves it. Can't say I do. Again, Mario Kart's probably the only game I've actually played properly on it, and I didn't think much of that either. It's like you're on rails. You literally can't bloody crash. If you let go of the joypad, you'll get pushed around the track to the finish line. It's, yeah, they've lost their way. PS4 though, absolutely love it. It's up there. It really is up there as one of the best ever in my opinion. Yeah, I'll never get rid of one of them. Although saying that, the PS5 can do everything the PS4 can do. So maybe it's about time the PS4 got a bit of a break and the PS5 came out. Yeah? Who knows? The only reason I haven't got my PS5 out is I don't have a 4K TV, so it's not going to look any different to this, is it? And currently, my PS5 wouldn't fit in that gap, so yeah, not much use. As I said, I'm thinking about getting a gaming room upstairs, and if I do, I'll be getting a massive 4K telly. PS5 will look smart on that. But the main point of maybe doing that would be more of a media room, so I can watch my Blu-rays up there and 4Ks up there on a massive TV and chill out. I'd quite like gaming here on this little TV, to be honest with you, it don't bother me. So yeah, that's my route. Xbox One, or is it a Series X or whatever it is, I don't know. The one that came out with PS4, there's two in the house. Both my eldest daughters, she likes Xbox. Don't know where she got that from. I think one of her boyfriends had one and brought one over. So yeah, she likes Xbox. We don't have the newest Xbox. Like I said, we've got a PS5 that's still in its box, so what's the point of getting the newest Xbox? It'd only sit there next to it in its box, wouldn't it? Don't plan on buying the newest Xbox. Don't plan on buying any of the Xboxes, in all honesty. I don't see it worthwhile when I've got the PlayStations. I don't see enough games on them that are worthy of me buying them. So, Gears of War, Forza, I can't really think of what else that'd interest me. So what's the point? It's not worth it. So yeah, that's my gaming history. C64, Mega Drive. From there I got a Saturn, not really that interested in it. PS1, N64, and then it was just PlayStation all the way. PlayStation all the way, baby. Loved them. Loved every single one of them. Handhelds. Yeah, we haven't talked about handhelds. I have owned majority of handhelds over the years. I think the only one I haven't owned that's a mainstream one is, I can't remember what it's called. TurboGrafx Express, something like that. The PC Engine handheld, I haven't owned that. Probably would like one of those, in all honesty. I think they're probably a brilliant little gaming machine. But I bet the pricey nowadays. Yeah, so with handhelds, the first one I actually owned for myself was a Game Boy Color. My mum had a Game Boy, of all people, and she was absolutely addicted to Tetris. And her Game Boy came with Tetris and Super Mario Land. So when she wasn't playing Tetris, I was playing Super Mario Land. And at the time, my mate had a Game Gear. And I used to play the Game Gear and think, wow, this is way better than the Game Boy. But now, if you were to give me a Game Gear or a Game Boy, the Game Gear wouldn't get a look in. Yeah, it's better graphically. But I think the games on the Game Boy are some of the best games ever produced. Because they're not relying on graphics to carry them. It's all purely about gameplay. And 70% at least of the games I've played on there have been absolutely amazing. So much fun. There's always going to be the odd stinker, isn't there? The odd game that's just shite. But even the games that people say are bad on Game Boy, I think half of them are pretty decent. You just not got used to the controls and you haven't given them enough time. Swamp Thing gets slated, for instance, and yeah, I didn't think it was a bad game. We're alright. So yeah, Game Boy I have owned. Like I said, first one I owned personally was a Game Boy Color. Couldn't put that down. I got it with a few like BMXing games, and I can't remember what other game I got with it. But I actually bought Pokemon Yellow, which I know it's a Game Boy original game. I bought Pokemon Yellow, and I was addicted to that damn thing. I'm like, I don't know, 19 or something, 18, 19-year-old, and I'm out there trading with little kids, trying to get them all. But yeah, love that game. Game Boy Color, probably not the best of the handhelds I've had, but I did enjoy using it. And then Game Boy Advance, wow, that is cracking in my opinion. It's like having a handheld SNES or a handheld Mega Drive. It's brilliant. Every game I've played on it, I must admit I haven't purposely played any of the games that would probably be crap games, like kiddie games and stuff. But every game I have played on it that I wasn't sure was going to be any good, has been good. So yeah, definite, probably the best handheld out there, I would say, the Game Boy Advance. And then from there, I have owned pretty much everything, but I haven't enjoyed the majority of them. DS, never took to it. Never took to it. I liked Mario Kart on it, Super Circuit. Again, Mario Kart's probably what sold the majority of the Nintendo consoles to me after GameCube. Well, GameCube as well. I only bought it for Double Dash originally. But yeah, I can't really think of anything else on the DS. It wasn't Super Circuit on DS either, was it? That one on Game Boy Advance, wasn't it? I can't remember the DS one. But that were pretty much the only game I liked on there. I bought Diddy Kong Racing as well, which I'm a big fan of on the N64, but you know, that's an N64 game that's been re-released, so is it really a big deal on the DS? Don't know. But yeah, DS, DSi, 3DS, they did nothing for me. I owned them all, give them a shot, never that bothered. Kids liked them, and I think that's the big thing with these, they feel like kids' consoles. So from that generation, DS and like Wii, I think the Nintendo's always just felt like a kid's consoles. Always. So it's just kind of put me off. So although I've owned all those handhelds, never did out for me. The only other one I've really liked to have owned is the PSP. I did think that were cracking. I was addicted to that for quite a while until my disc drive broke on it. And I couldn't fix it, so I ended up turning it into an emulation machine. And again, I still loved it as an emulation machine. But yeah, PSP were pretty good. I don't think I'd buy one back again. Yeah, I don't know. I'd rather just play Game Boy nowadays, I think, when it comes to handhelds. So I don't think I'd buy one back again, but I did have good fun with it while I was playing it. Vita didn't really do it out for me. Again, I did buy one, but it was just all RPGs on there. There didn't seem like any decent games at all. Or when I was looking to buy a new game, I could never find out if I wanted. So I never bothered. So anyway, that's it. That's my gaming history. A long, long gaming history. Feels like it anyway. As I say, I've owned, God knows, I've owned everything pretty much. I mean, I had a full Sega Pico set at one point, you know what I mean? When I was buying stuff from the car boots, my house was just cluttered to the high heavens with consoles and games and computers. A lot of it wasn't even for, like, me, for my collection. I just hoovered it up and I used it to trade in to buy games I wanted. So, you know, I was a bit of a reseller back in the day. I made quite a bit out of it as well. But a lot of it went into my collection. The whole reason I was going out there was to buy games I wanted. If I came across other stuff that I knew I could make some money on, why not? Buy it, sell it, buy something I wanted. Worked out well. So yeah, over the years, I mean, I've had everything, I really have. And I've played majority of them. But I doubt I'd get any of it back. The ones I'm going to get are the ones that I've got fond memories for. And I've pretty much got everything I want now anyway, to be honest with you. So yeah. So anyway, that's the end of it. That's my gaming system history. So it'd be interesting to hear what yours are. If you've enjoyed this, do a response. Send it to the Retro Bear, because he started it. Go watch his video, obviously. If you've enjoyed this, you'll enjoy his. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you again soon with another video.